Some love stories begin with a glass slipper, others with a kiss. But Maya's love story began with rain, torrential, merciless rain that turned the streets of Low District into raging rivers and brought a king to his knees at her door. She was nobody. A seamstress with calloused hands and threadbare clothes, living in a one-room cottage that leaked when it drizzled and groaned when the wind blew hard. The forgotten poor of a prosperous kingdom, invisible to those in the palace on the hill. But on the night the storm came, the night the heavens opened and the floods rose, Maya did what she had always done. She saw someone in need, and she helped. The soaking stranger at her door, desperate and wounded, was just another soul requiring shelter. She had no idea he was a king, and he had no idea that the woman offering him dry clothes and warm soup would become the one person he could never live without. Maya had learned long ago not to expect anything from anyone. Betrayed by the family who should have protected her, abandoned by those who promised to care, she survived on her own terms. Trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Love? An even more impossible dream. Alpha King Orion walked among his people in disguise, seeking truth that courtly reports could never reveal. What he found in the shadows of his prosperous kingdom horrified him: poverty, corruption, suffering hidden beneath glittering facades. But finding solutions proved harder than uncovering problems. The flood came without warning, swallowing the Low District in minutes. Orion lost his guards in the churning waters, barely escaping with his life. Wounded, disoriented, stripped of everything that marked him as king, he stumbled to the only light he could see, a small cottage where a young woman prepared to weather the storm alone. If you're already invested in Maya and Orion's journey, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens when that cottage door opens. And if you love stories where fate brings unlikely souls together, hit that like button. It helps me bring you more tales of impossible love. The evening had started like any other. Maya sat by her window, needle flashing in the candlelight as she finished hemming a merchant's daughter's dress. Her fingers moved with practiced efficiency, each stitch perfect despite the dim light. Outside, storm clouds gathered like bruises across the sky, turning the world prematurely dark. She paused, rubbing her tired eyes. The dress needed to be delivered tomorrow, which meant working past midnight again. Her stomach growled, reminding her she'd skipped lunch to save money. The winter would be harsh, and her cottage needed repairs before the first snow. The roof leaked, the door hung crooked, and the wind whistled through gaps in the walls. But these were familiar worries, manageable in their predictability. Maya had survived worse, much worse. The first drops of rain hit her window like thrown pebbles. Within minutes, it became a deluge. Maya moved quickly, securing the shutters and placing her 3 precious pots beneath the worst leaks. The candle flickered as wind found its way through the cracks. She pulled her threadbare shawl tighter and returned to her sewing. Thunder rolled across the sky, deep and ominous. Maya's wolf stirred uneasily inside her, the first movement in years. She froze, needle suspended. Her wolf had been silent since she was 15, locked away by trauma so deep that shifting became impossible. The healers called it a severed connection, a wolf traumatized into hibernation. Another crack of thunder, closer now. The cottage groaned. Through the shutters, Maya heard shouts in the distance, her neighbors calling to each other, concerned about the storm's intensity. She stood, crossing to peek through a gap in the wood. What she saw made her blood run cold. Water. Not rain pooling in the streets, but a wall of water surging down from the upper hills, carrying debris, barrels, even pieces of buildings in its churning mass. The flood hit Low District like a fist. Maya stumbled back as water slammed against her cottage. The structure shuddered but held barely. She was on slightly higher ground than her neighbors, a small mercy that now meant everything. Outside, screams pierced the roar of water. People calling for help, for loved ones, for anyone. Her hands moved before her mind caught up. Maya grabbed her heaviest shawl, preparing to open her door and help whoever she could reach. She'd pull them inside. They'd ride out the storm together. It was what her mother would have done. But before she could reach for the latch, something slammed against her door with enough force to shake the frame. Then again. And again. Weakening knocks. Desperate. A voice, barely audible over the storm. "Please. Help." Maya threw open the door. Water rushed in immediately, soaking her feet and flooding her floor. In the doorway, collapsed against the frame, was a man. His clothes were torn and soaked, his face pale beneath mud and blood. A gash across his temple leaked red, mixing with rainwater. He was a stranger. She'd never seen him before in Low District. His build suggested strength, though now he could barely hold himself upright. As he lifted his head, their eyes met. Golden eyes. Wolf eyes. Even in human form. Something inside Maya's chest pulled tight, like a string plucked and still vibrating. Her wolf surged forward with sudden, shocking intensity. The reaction was so unexpected, so powerful after years of silence, that Maya gasped. The stranger's eyes widened. "Mate," he whispered, the single word falling between them like a stone into still water. Then his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. Maya caught him instinctively, his weight nearly taking them both down. She struggled, dragging him inside and kicking the door shut against the flood. Water continued seeping under the door, but slower now. The cottage groaned around them. The stranger lay unconscious on her floor, bleeding, soaked, barely breathing. Maya's heart hammered. Her wolf was going absolutely wild, pressing against her consciousness with desperate insistence. "Important," it seemed to say. "He's important. Ours." "Not now," Maya muttered, stripping off the stranger's wet jacket with shaking hands. She needed to focus. Hypothermia would kill him before the head wound if she didn't act fast. She'd worry about golden eyes and impossible words later. Right now, she had a life to save. Maya worked through the night with single-minded determination. First, she stripped the stranger's wet clothes, averting her eyes as much as modesty allowed while exposing him to the warmth of her fire. His skin was ice-cold, lips tinged blue. She wrapped him in her only spare blanket, threadbare but dry, and built up the fire with wood she'd been rationing. The head wound needed attention. Maya fetched her sewing kit, the same needle and thread she'd used on the merchant's dress. She cleaned the gash as best she could with her limited supplies, then stitched it closed with steady hands. The stranger didn't even flinch, lost in fever dreams. As she worked, her fingers trembling only slightly, Maya studied his face. Strong features, a jaw shadowed with stubble, dark hair plastered to his forehead. He was handsome in a way that made her chest ache. Not the pretty boy handsomeness of nobles she glimpsed from afar, but something rawer, more real. And those eyes, even closed now, she couldn't forget them. Golden, intense, seeing straight through her in that single moment of connection. The word he'd spoken echoed in her mind. Mate. Impossible. Maya didn't believe in fairy tales anymore. Mate bonds were for the lucky, the whole, the worthy, not for broken girls who couldn't even access their wolves. Whatever she'd felt was gratitude, adrenaline, the shock of helping a stranger. Nothing more. Outside, the storm raged on. Water lapped at her doorframe, seeping in no matter how she tried to block it. Maya worked frantically, using every cloth and towel she owned to build barriers, moving her few possessions to higher ground. Her entire life fit on one small shelf and the rickety table. The stranger began mumbling in his delirium around 3 a.m. Maya paused in her attempts to reinforce the eastern wall, listening. "Have to. Get back. Palace needs." His voice was rough, broken by fever. "My people. Can't fail them." Palace? Maya moved closer, pressing a cool cloth to his burning forehead. He must work there, a guard, perhaps, or a servant. Many palace workers lived in the better parts of Low District, close enough to walk to their shifts but far enough to afford slightly larger rooms. The corruption. "Matthias!" Can't trust. His hand shot out, gripping her wrist with surprising strength. His eyes opened, unfocused and glazed. Please, they're suffering. Have to help. Shh, Maya soothed, gently extracting her wrist. You're safe. Rest now. But he continued mumbling, fragments of worried thoughts spilling out in fever. Something about embezzlement, about low district funds disappearing, about people in need. Maya filed it all away, uncertain what to make of it. Palace politics were beyond her concern. She had enough trouble keeping herself fed. As dawn approached with no lessening of the storm, Maya finally allowed herself to sit. Exhaustion pulled at her like weights. She'd been awake for nearly 24 hours, and the adrenaline was fading. Her small cottage felt even smaller with another person in it, the air thick with wood smoke and the metallic scent of blood. The stranger's fever had broken slightly, his breathing easier. Maya watched him sleep, her own eyes growing heavy. Almost against her will, her hand drifted down to rest on his where it lay outside the blanket. The moment their skin touched, warmth flooded through her. Not the heat of fever, but something else entirely. Something that made her wolf keen with longing. Maya's eyes widened, but she was too tired to pull away. Just for a moment, she told herself. Just until the exhaustion passed. Her eyes closed, her head tilted, coming to rest against the wall. And as the storm howled outside, as water continued its relentless assault on her tiny refuge, Maya fell asleep sitting up, her hand still touching the stranger's, connected by something she didn't understand and wasn't sure she wanted to. The cottage groaned. The fire crackled. And outside, the flood continued rising. Maya woke to pale light filtering through gaps in the shutters and a golden-eyed stranger watching her. She jerked upright, heart hammering. They were still as she'd left them, her sitting on the floor, him lying wrapped in her blanket. But his eyes were open now, clear and aware, fixed on her face with an intensity that made her breath catch. "You're awake," she managed, her voice rough from sleep. "How do you feel?" The stranger tried to sit up and immediately winced, one hand going to his bandaged temple, like I drowned and was brought back. His voice was deeper than she expected, with an accent that spoke of education, of refinement. "Where am I?" "My home. In Low District." Maya stood, putting distance between them. In the daylight, she could see him more clearly, the quality of his skin beneath the grime, the breadth of his shoulders, the way he held himself even injured. This was no ordinary palace servant. "The flood hit. You were at my door." Recognition flickered across his face, followed by something that looked like grief. "My friends. They were with me. The flood." He stopped, jaw clenching. "Did you see anyone else?" Maya shook her head. "I'm sorry." He closed his eyes briefly, pain etched in every line of his face. When he opened them again, there was determination there, too. "Thank you. For pulling me inside. For..." He gestured to his bandaged head. "This. Anyone would have helped." Maya moved to check the water level at her door. It had risen another inch during the night, now pooling around her ankles in the lowest part of the cottage. "Though we're not out of danger yet, the storm hasn't stopped." "No one would have helped." The stranger's voice held absolute certainty. "You risked your own safety to save a stranger. That's not anyone." Maya didn't know how to respond to that, so she busied herself checking their supplies. Rainwater had ruined half her food stores, but she had enough for a few days if they were careful. The fire still burned, fed by the last of her winter wood. Once that ran out, they'd freeze. "I'm Orion," the stranger said behind her. Maya turned. He'd managed to sit up, the blanket clutched around his waist. His chest was bare, muscled in a way that suggested training, regular meals, a life very different from hers. She quickly looked away. "Maya." "Just Maya?" Something in his tone made her defensive. "Just Maya. I don't need more than that." Silence fell. awkward and heavy. Through the walls, Maya could hear the continued roar of water, the occasional crash as debris slammed against buildings. How many of her neighbors had survived the night? How many were gone? Do you feel it? Orion's question was soft, almost hesitant. When our eyes met. When you touch me. Do you feel it too? Maya's hands stilled on the half-soaked bread she was examining. She felt it. Gods help her. She felt it like sunlight breaking through clouds, like coming home after years of wandering. But admitting that would mean admitting too much. I don't know what you're talking about. Liar. But there was no accusation in the word, only sadness. I understand. You don't know me. And given where you found me, bleeding and desperate, you have every reason to be cautious. He shifted, trying to stand, and Maya moved instinctively to help him. The moment her hand touched his arm, that same warmth flooded through her. Orion's sharp intake of breath told her he felt it too. Their eyes met and held. The cottage, the storm, the flood, everything faded to background noise. In that moment, there was only the space between them, charged and electric, and the undeniable pull drawing them closer. What is this? Maya whispered. Orion's hand came up to cup her face, his touch gentle despite the calluses on his palm. I think you know. The cottage shuddered violently. A loud crack split the air, the sound of wood giving way. Maya and Orion broke apart as water surged through a new gap in the eastern wall, flooding in with renewed vigor. Help me, Maya shouted, already moving toward her shelf of possessions. If the wall gave way completely, they'd both drown. Orion was beside her in an instant, fever and injury forgotten. Together they shoved furniture against the breach, using everything they could find to stem the flow. Her table, her single chair, boards torn from her sleeping pallet, all of it went into the desperate barricade. For long minutes, they worked in frantic silence, bracing the wall, reinforcing weak points, Maya's hands bleeding from splinters as she wedged cloth into gaps. Orion moved with surprising strength for someone who'd nearly died hours ago, his body responding to crisis with trained efficiency. Finally, the flow slowed to a manageable seep. The wall held barely. Maya and Orion stood back, both breathing hard, soaked and exhausted. That won't last another night, Orion said grimly. I know. Maya surveyed the damage. Her home was destroyed. Even if they survived the storm, she'd have nothing left. Years of careful saving, of scraping by, gone in one night. But she was alive. And so was the stranger Orion who stood beside her, golden eyes reflecting firelight. Come here, he said gently. You're shaking. Maya looked down at her hands. He was right. Delayed shock, exhaustion, fear, it all caught up at once. Her knees buckled. Orion caught her, guiding her to the floor near the fire. He wrapped the blanket around both of them, and Maya was too tired to protest the impropriety. They sat pressed together for warmth, for comfort, for the simple human need not to be alone. Tell me about yourself, Orion said quietly. How did you end up in Low District? The question should have been innocuous. Instead, it opened old wounds. Maya stared into the fire, debating how much to share. But they might die here together. What did secrets matter in the face of that? I wasn't always poor, she heard herself say. My parents were merchants, respected, comfortable. The story spilled out in fragments. Her parents' death when she was 15, the aunt and uncle who'd taken her in only to steal everything, the inheritance that disappeared, the home she lost, the family name she stopped using because it brought only pain. I ran, Maya said simply. Because staying meant watching them destroy what little I had left. I came here with nothing. Started over. And your wolf? Orion asked carefully. I felt her earlier, but now it's like she's not there. Maya flinched. It was the question she dreaded most. The trauma locked her away. I haven't shifted in 8 years, The healers said she might never come back. Orion was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. I'm sorry that you lost so much, that you've had to survive alone. We all survive however we can. Maya pulled the blanket tighter. What about you? You said you work at the palace? She felt him tense. I serve there, yes. Doing what? Another pause, longer this time. I try to help people, to make things better, but lately I've been failing at both. There was such weight in those words, such genuine anguish. Maya turned to look at him. You said something in your fever. About corruption. About people suffering. Orion's jaw clenched. Did I? You seemed worried about Low District, about funds going missing. They have gone missing. Anger crept into his voice. For years, money meant for infrastructure repairs, for improving conditions, all vanished into the pockets of corrupt officials, and I didn't see it. I was blind. You're one person. You can't fix everything. Can't I? His eyes blazed with frustration. When I have the power to change things, to demand accountability, and I do nothing, what does that make me? Maya studied him with new understanding. You're not just a servant, are you? Orion looked away. I'm trying to be honest with you, but there are things I can't explain. Not yet, not until. He trailed off. Until what? Until I know you're safe. Until I can protect you from the consequences of knowing the truth. It should have made her angry, this evasion. Instead, Maya felt an unexpected surge of something else. Trust, maybe, or the beginning of it. Because Orion wasn't lying, she could sense that much. He was protecting her the only way he knew how. Outside, the storm showed no signs of stopping. They were trapped together for at least another day, maybe more. Two strangers sharing space barely large enough for one, connected by a pull neither fully understood. Maya's stomach growled, breaking the tension. Orion smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him. When did you last eat? Yesterday. Lunch, maybe? Then let's see what we can salvage. Orion stood, offering her his hand. We'll need our strength for whatever comes next. As Maya took his hand, that warmth flared again. But this time, she didn't pull away. This time, she let herself feel it, just for a moment. The impossible connection. The sense of belonging she'd thought lost forever. Maybe Orion was right. Maybe she did know what this was. The question was whether she had the courage to accept it. The throne room was exactly as Maya had imagined, and worse. Soaring ceilings painted with scenes of ancient wolf battles, columns of white marble veined with gold, and at the far end, an ornate throne that seemed designed to dwarf whoever sat upon it. 12 council members stood in a semicircle before the throne, their faces ranging from curious to openly hostile. Maya recognized the type immediately entitled nobles who'd never missed a meal, never worried about a leaking roof, never considered anyone beneath their station as fully human. Orion's hand tightened on hers as they walked the length of the room. Each footstep echoed. Every eye tracked their progress. Maya forced herself to breathe steadily, to keep her head high. Your Majesty. The speaker was a thin man with cruel eyes. We're relieved to see you safe. The kingdom mourned during your absence. I'm sure they did, Lord Petrus. Orion's tone was dry. Though perhaps their mourning would have been less necessary if Low District infrastructure had been properly maintained. Uncomfortable shifting among the council, Petrus's smile tightened. Yes, well, that's one of the matters we hoped to discuss. Your rather precipitous actions from Low District have caused some concern. My actions to arrest the Lord Chancellor for embezzlement? Among other things. Another council member spoke, a woman with iron-gray hair. You've frozen numerous accounts, demanded investigations, made sweeping accusations of corruption, all without consulting this council. I consulted the evidence. Orion's voice hardened. Treasury records that show years of stolen funds, infrastructure reports that were falsified, death tolls that could have been prevented if someone had cared more about people than profit. These are serious charges, Your Majesty. They require proper deliberation. They require immediate action. Orion cut her off. Which I'm taking. The audits will proceed. Those found guilty will face justice. This is not up for debate. Lord Petrus cleared his throat. Perhaps we could discuss this more productively if you dismissed your companion. Council sessions are not appropriate for civilians. Every eye turned to Maya. She felt the weight of their judgment, their disdain, their assumption that she didn't belong here. Lady Maya stays. Orion's voice cut through the tension. She's my mate. That makes her your future queen. You will address her with the respect that position demands. Shocked silence. Then an eruption of protest. A commoner as queen? Your Majesty, this is unthinkable. The bloodlines. The tradition. Enough! Orion's alpha command rolled through the room, forcing every wolf to submission. Maya felt it too, the overwhelming power of a dominant alpha asserting authority. Her own wolf responded with surprising strength, recognizing its mate's power and rising to match it. The room fell silent. Orion stood taller, every inch a king. I will say this once. Maya Silvermoon is my chosen mate. The bond is undeniable, sanctified by the moon herself. I will marry her, make her my queen, and build my future with her. Anyone who opposes this opposes me directly. But sire, Petrus's voice was strained against the weight of Alpha Command. Her background, her lack of training, her background is of a respected merchant family whose assets were stolen through fraud. Her lack of training can be remedied, and her courage, compassion, and integrity exceed that of anyone in this room. Orion's eyes blazed gold. If any of you doubt her worthiness, you're welcome to challenge me directly. Otherwise, show her the respect she's due. Maya stood very still beside him, her heart hammering. This was real. He was truly fighting his entire court for her. The gray-haired woman stepped forward, bowing to Maya with surprising grace. Lady Silvermoon, forgive our surprise. The king's announcement was unexpected. But if he has chosen you, then we welcome you. I don't. Lord Petrus's voice was cold. I invoke the council's right to question. Let her prove herself worthy before we accept this claim. Murmurs of agreement. Orion's hand went to Maya's arm, protective. The right to question requires just cause. The cause is the crown itself. You ask us to accept an untested girl as future queen. Give us reason beyond the mate bond. Let her demonstrate capability, intelligence, strength. Petrus's smile was cruel. Or perhaps she prefers to hide behind your authority. It was a trap. Refuse and look weak. Accept and risk public failure. Maya saw the calculation in Petrus's eyes. He expected her to crumble. She thought of her mother, who'd run a merchant empire. Of her father, who'd negotiated with nobles while maintaining his dignity. Of 8 years surviving alone in Low District when she could have given up. Maya stepped forward, releasing Orion's hand. I accept your challenge, Lord Petrus. Ask your questions. Petrus's eyebrows rose. Very well. What do you know of kingdom finance? I know that the Low District budget has been underfunded for years while showing full allocation on official reports. I know that infrastructure funds have been diverted through shell companies. I know that someone on this council has been signing off on fraudulent expense reports. Maya's voice was steady. Would you like me to be more specific? Petrus paled. How would a Low District seamstress know? I can read financial documents. I learned bookkeeping from my father before his death. And I've lived with the consequences of your embezzlement for 8 years. Maya turned to address the full council. You want to know if I'm worthy? Ask the people of Low District. Ask the families who watched their homes collapse because repairs were never made. Ask the children who went hungry while you lined your pockets. This is outrageous, Petrus sputtered. These accusations are supported by evidence His Majesty can provide. Maya cut him off. Unless you'd like to explain where the missing funds went? The gray-haired woman's eyes gleamed with something like approval. Another council member coughed to hide what might have been a laugh. Let me ask differently, the woman said. What do you believe makes a good queen? Maya considered carefully. Compassion balanced with strength. The ability to see individuals, not just numbers or statistics. Understanding that ruling isn't about power, it's about service. About using privilege to lift up those who have none. She met the woman's eyes. I've been invisible for 8 years. I know what it means to be overlooked, dismissed, forgotten. I won't let that happen to others if I can prevent it. Silence fell. Several council members exchanged glances. Even Petrus seemed momentarily at a loss. One more question. This came from a younger council member. The king clearly cares for you. But do you love him? Or do you see an opportunity for advancement? Maya looked at Orion. His eyes met hers, golden and steady, full of trust that she would answer truthfully. I didn't know he was a king when I opened my door to him. I knew only that he needed help, and I could provide it. Her voice softened. I fell in love with a man who worked beside me to save lives, who shared his last portion of food with hungry children, who got angry at injustice and determined to fix it. The crown is part of him, yes, but it's not why I love him. Orion's expression transformed. Maya realized she'd never said the words aloud before. Love. She loved him. The gray-haired woman smiled. That, I think, is all the answer we need. Lady Silvermoon, you have my support. She turned to the council. Who else stands with the king's choice? One by one, hands rose. 7 out of 12. Not unanimous, but enough. Petrus's face darkened. This isn't over. Tradition is what we make it, Orion interrupted. And I'm making new traditions. Maya will be prepared for her role. She'll have tutors, advisors, whatever she needs. But make no mistake, she will be my queen. He held out his hand to Maya. Unless you've changed your mind. Maya took his hand, their fingers intertwining. No, I'm all in. The council session dissolved into discussion of practical matters, coronation planning, security concerns, diplomatic ramifications. Maya half listened, still processing what had just happened. She'd faced down the council, defended herself, and won enough support to stand beside Orion. As they finally left the throne room, Orion pulled her into a quiet corridor. You were magnificent. I was terrified. You were brave. Brave and brilliant and everything I knew you'd be. He cupped her face. I love you, Maya. I should have said it days ago, but I love you. Tears pricked her eyes. I love you too. I didn't mean to fall so fast, but... He kissed her, cutting off her words. The mate bond flared between them, golden and sure, stronger than before. When they finally broke apart, both were smiling. What happens now? Maya asked. Now you get the grand tour. Tutors are assigned. You learn to navigate palace politics, and in a month, we formally announce our engagement to the kingdom. A month? Too fast? Orion's eyes searched hers. We can wait longer if you need. No. Maya surprised herself with her certainty. A month is perfect. Gives me time to learn what I need to learn, to be ready. Orion's smile was incandescent. Then a month it is. And Maya, thank you for being brave enough to fight for this, for us. As he led her deeper into the palace that would become her home, Maya reflected on how much had changed in 5 days, from surviving alone to fighting beside a king, from broken to healing, from hopeless to happy. She was happy. For the first time in 8 years, Maya allowed herself to believe in happy endings. The next weeks passed in a blur of activity. Maya was assigned apartments in the royal wing rooms larger than her entire cottage had been, filled with more luxury than she'd known existed. She had servants now, ladies in waiting, tutors who taught her everything from court etiquette to diplomatic protocol. Lady Vera, the gray-haired council member, became an unexpected ally. She guided Maya through the treacherous waters of court politics, taught her which nobles could be trusted and which smiled while planning betrayal. "You're doing well," Vera said one afternoon, reviewing Maya's progress in state law. "Better than expected, honestly. The council is taking notice." Maya set down her quill. "But they still don't accept me. Some never will. Lord Petrus and his factions see you as a threat to their power, which you are." Vera's smile was sharp. "That's why you must be better, smarter, more prepared than any of them expect." The investigations into corruption proceeded swiftly. Lord Chancellor Matthias was formally charged with embezzlement. 3 other council members were implicated. The scandal rocked the palace, but Orion remained firm. Justice would be served, regardless of rank or influence. Maya attended the proceedings when she could, learning how power truly worked. She saw Orion transform in these moments, no longer the gentle man from her cottage, but a king wielding authority with precision and force. "He's been holding back for years," Vera explained. "Trying to work within the system, trust his advisors. Your appearance changed something in him, reminded him that sometimes the system needs breaking." Maya wasn't sure how she felt about being a catalyst for upheaval, but when she saw low district relief efforts proceeding smoothly, saw families being housed and fed, saw justice finally being done, she thought maybe upheaval was necessary. Evenings were precious. Orion made time each night to dine with her privately, away from the constant scrutiny of court. They'd talk for hours about everything and nothing, his childhood, her dreams, the future they were building together. "Tell me about your parents," Orion asked one night. "What were they like?" Maya found herself sharing memories she'd locked away for years. Her father's laugh, her mother's strength, the love they'd shown her, the values they'd instilled. "They'd be proud of you," Orion said quietly. "Standing up to the council, fighting for yourself, becoming more than circumstances tried to make you." "I hope so." Maya's hand found his across the table. "Sometimes I still can't believe this is real, that I'm here, with you." "Believe it." Orion lifted her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. "You're mine, Maya. And I'm yours. That's the most real thing I know." The mate bond had strengthened over the weeks. Maya felt it constantly now, a warm thread connecting them, letting her sense Orion's emotions even when they were apart. Her wolf was emerging too, slowly but surely. She hadn't shifted yet, but the connection was there, growing stronger daily. Dr. Alara monitored her progress. "The trauma is healing. Your wolf is learning to trust again, just like you are. Give it time." 3 weeks into her palace residency, Maya woke to shouting outside her apartments. She threw on a robe and emerged to find Captain Laurent arguing with an unfamiliar woman. "I don't care about protocol. I will see my niece. Now." Maya's blood turned to ice. That voice. Her aunt's voice. "What's happening?" she demanded. Her aunt turned, and Maya saw the calculation in her eyes. The woman looked older, worn, but the same cold ambition remained. "Maya!" "Oh, my dear girl." Her aunt rushed forward. "We've been searching for you for so long. When we heard you were alive, at the palace." False tears streamed down her face. "We've been so worried. You were worried about whether I was dead so you could keep my inheritance." Maya's voice was ice. "Don't pretend otherwise." Her aunt's expression flickered. "I understand you're angry. What your uncle and I did, we were wrong. We've come to make amends, to restore what's rightfully yours." "Now that I'm the king's mate, you mean? Now that keeping it would be treason." "Maya, please. We're family." "No." Maya stood taller. "Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't abandon. You made your choice 8 years ago. Now live with it." Her aunt's mask slipped. "You ungrateful child. We raised you, fed you, for 2 months before stealing everything and throwing me out." Maya turned to Laurent. "Is there a reason this woman is in the palace? She claimed family rights. Said she had information about your background that you'd want to hear." "I know my background, and I know enough about her character to want nothing more to do with it." Maya met her aunt's eyes. "You're not welcome here. If you have legal matters regarding my parents' estate, take them up with the Crown's solicitors. Otherwise, leave." Her aunt's face twisted with rage. "You can't dismiss me like I'm nothing. I'm your blood. Blood doesn't make family. Actions do. And yours were clear." Maya gestured to the guards. "Escort her out. If she returns, have her arrested for trespassing." As her aunt was led away, still protesting, Orion appeared from a connecting corridor. He'd obviously heard everything. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. Maya realized she was shaking, but not from fear, from fury. And beneath that, something else. Relief. "I am. Actually, I am." She looked up at him. "For years, I let them make me feel worthless, like I was the one who'd done something wrong. But I didn't. They did. And I don't owe them anything." Orion pulled her close. "No, you don't. And I'm proud of you for recognizing that." Later that day, Maya learned that the investigation into her parents' estate had concluded. The evidence was overwhelming. Her aunt and uncle had systematically stolen her inheritance, forging documents to legitimize their theft. They would face trial for fraud. "Your father's property will be returned to you," Orion told her. "The house, the business assets, everything they took. It's not much compared to the palace, but it's everything," Maya interrupted. "It's my parents' legacy. It's proof that I wasn't crazy, that the theft was real. What will you do with it?" Maya considered. "Sell the business assets. Use the money to fund education programs in Low District. Keep the house, maybe turn it into housing for girls in situations like mine. Girls who need a safe place." Orion's eyes shone with pride. "That's perfect. You're perfect. I'm really not. To me, you are." He cupped her face. "Maya, the formal engagement announcement is in 3 days. Are you ready?" Was she? 3 weeks of preparation, of learning and growing and becoming something more than she'd been. 3 weeks of loving a man who saw her, truly saw her, and loved what he found. "Yes," she said. "I'm ready." The announcement would change everything. Make their relationship official before the entire kingdom. Open Maya up to public scrutiny, judgment, potential danger. But it would also make real what they'd built in the flood. Give them a future. Unite 2 worlds that never should have touched. Maya thought of the girl she'd been the one who'd opened her door in a storm, never imagining where it would lead. That girl had been surviving. This woman? She was living. "Then let's do this," she said. "Together." Orion's smile was answer enough. The engagement announcement was a grand affair. Nobles from across the kingdom gathered in the palace's great hall, dressed in their finest. Maya wore a gown of deep silver, a nod to her silver moon heritage with her mother's necklace as her only jewelry. She stood beside Orion on the dais, feeling the weight of hundreds of eyes. Some curious, some judgmental, some openly hostile, but also some, like Lady Vera, like several of the younger nobles, showed approval, even excitement. Orion's hand found hers as the royal herald stepped forward. Lords and ladies of the realm, honored guests, people of the kingdom. His Majesty, Alpha King Orion, has an announcement of great joy. Orion stepped forward, his voice carrying through the hall. 3 weeks ago, during the flood that devastated Low District, I found myself at the door of a woman named Maya Silvermoon. She didn't know I was king. She knew only that someone needed help, and she provided it. She saved my life. And in doing so, she showed me what true nobility looks like. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Maya kept her chin high, her expression calm despite her racing heart. Maya is my mate, chosen by the moon and confirmed by my wolf. More than that, she's the woman I love, the partner I want beside me as I work to build a better kingdom. And tonight, I ask her formally, before all of you, to be my wife and queen. He turned to Maya, taking both her hands. Maya Silvermoon, will you marry me? This was the rehearsed part. Maya was supposed to say yes, bow her head modestly, accept with grace and humility. Instead, she looked at the man she loved and spoke from her heart. Yes. Not because you're a king, though I respect your crown. Not because of power or position or any earthly benefit, but because you see me. Because you fight for what's right even when it's hard. Because you're kind and stubborn and determined to make the world better. Because I love you. Her voice carried through the silent hall. So yes, I'll marry you, stand beside you, fight with you, always. The answering kiss was supposed to be chaste. It wasn't. Orion pulled her close and kissed her like they were alone, like the watching crowd didn't exist, like nothing mattered but the two of them and the bond that had brought them together. When they finally broke apart, the hall erupted. Some applauded. Some looked scandalized. Some whispered behind their hands. Maya didn't care. She'd said yes to the impossible. And she'd do it again. Every time. The celebration lasted deep into the night. Maya navigated conversations with nobles she'd only read about, accepting their congratulations with grace, while mentally cataloging who seemed genuine and who masked hostility behind false smiles. Lord Petrus approached late in the evening, his expression sour. Well played, Lady Silvermoon. You've won this round. This isn't a game, Lord Petrus. Isn't it? Everything in the palace is a game. Power, influence, favor. You've gained all three in mere weeks. Maya met his eyes steadily. I'm not playing. I'm living. There's a difference. We'll see how long you last. He smiled coldly. The palace has a way of breaking those who don't belong. Then it's fortunate I've had 8 years of practice at not breaking. Petrus's smile faded. He bowed stiffly and moved away. Lady Vera appeared at Maya's elbow. He'll be a problem, Vera said quietly. He already is, but I can handle him. I believe you can. Vera's expression was thoughtful. You're stronger than you look. Stronger than they expect. Use that. As the celebration wound down, Orion found Maya on a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The night was clear, the moon full and bright. Escaping? He asked, joining her. Breathing. It's a lot of people. A lot of eyes. I know. He pulled her close. But you were perfect tonight. Gracious to those who deserved it. Firm with those who didn't. Every inch a queen. Maya leaned into him. I'm terrified I'll mess this up. You won't. How can you be so certain? Because I know you. You don't give up. You don't back down. And you don't let fear stop you from doing what's right. Orion turned her to face him. The wedding is in 1 month. After that, the coronation. Then the real work begins. Building that better kingdom, you mentioned? Together. Every step. His eyes glowed gold in the moonlight. Are you ready? Maya thought about the journey that had brought her here. The storm. The flood. The stranger at her door. The impossible connection that had become undeniable love. The future spread before them, uncertain but full of promise. Yes, she said. I'm ready. As Orion kissed her beneath the full moon, Maya felt her wolf surge forward with joy. And for the first time in 8 years, she felt the shift beginning, the connection finally, fully restored. She pulled back, gasping. Orion, I think... Your wolf. I feel her. His eyes widened. Maya, she's here. Truly here. The transformation happened naturally, easily, like breathing after years of holding her breath. One moment, Maya stood in human form. The next, a silver wolf stood beside Orion's black one. They ran through the palace gardens together, two wolves under the moon, celebrating the impossible made real, the broken made whole, the lost, finally found. When they shifted back at dawn, lying in soft grass with the sun rising over the palace, Maya couldn't stop smiling. "Welcome home," Orion whispered. "All of you." Maya kissed him, her heart full to bursting. "Welcome home." Here are several options for a final CTA after the story ends. Maya and Orion's journey from strangers in a storm to mates bound by love proves that sometimes the most unexpected moments bring us exactly what we've been searching for. If their story touched your heart, share it with someone you love, because stories like these remind us that hope and healing are always possible. And subscribe so you never miss another tale of love that defies all odds. Until next time, may you always find shelter in the storm.